Some time has passed since last time I made a separate book review on this channel, but this novel didn't give me a choice. Hi and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I'm Øystein and I talk about books and reading. If you're old to this channel, welcome back. As the title says, this video is about me reviewing this one, Beartown by Fredrik Backman. This was published in 2016, then the second one in 2017, and the last one in the trilogy called Beartown was published in 2021. Earlier, I've really enjoyed Backman's books, and there's been some time since last time I read him. And I do think that has to do with the theme of that novel, which is hockey, a theme that I don't really care for. But let me tell you, I was wrong. I'll start off with talking a little bit about the plot of this novel, and then I'll come back to talking about my feelings. And if you do want to read this novel and don't want any spoilers, I think you should quit this video right now and then come back to me when you've read it, because you really should. But I can't really promise you that this will be spoiler free. The novel is about a small place in Sweden called Björnstad, and everything here evolves around the hockey teams. You might say that hockey seems to be the only thing that this small community has left. There are a whole lot of characters in this novel, but everyone has something to do with the hockey teams, and specifically the junior hockey team. And right from the beginning, we as readers know that there's this one huge match coming up. And everything in this town evolves around this match. Everything will be decided based on the outcome. But the star of the hockey team does something really bad and he can't participate in this match. And this makes all the people in this community lose their minds. I hope that pretty much gives you an idea. Now over to my feelings and thoughts. So first of all, it's the title of the novel. In Norwegian it's called Björnstad, and Björnstad is a place that is a place. It's several places. I went on Google Maps and looked it up, and Björnstad is a quite common name of a farm or a place or a business. But the title in English, Beartown, just seems so lame. But then again, I get why they named the book that way. I just had to get that off my chest. So what kind of book is this? Well, after I started reading it, I went into a bookstore, which is something I do often, and I saw this in the shelves under the category of crime fiction, and I thought, well, that's a bit weird. And then I thought some more, and that's completely correct. It is a crime fiction, and it actually starts out with talking about someone being shot, but it doesn't feel like a crime fiction. Not to me, at least. I would describe my own feelings when reading this as thrill, and be more in the thriller scope of things. And of course it doesn't have that whodunit perspective, which is easy to categorize as crime fiction. But above all this, I feel like this is a coming-of-age novel about youth growing up and getting to know the harsh realities of life. He spends a whole lot of time talking about the different characters and how they are brought up and how their living situation is. And I have to say that that's something I enjoyed a whole lot and was one of my favorite things about this novel. Right from the start of this novel, I didn't know where this was going at all. You had so many characters that were established, and you felt sorry for all of them in some way. There were no one of these kids that I didn't feel sorry for at all at some point. Some of them had lost parents, some of them had lost parents but they weren't dead. Some of them were mistreated at home, some of them were abused at school. There were so many unhappy fates in this one book. But that's one of the biggest advantages when it comes to this novel. It starts out with a gunshot, and all I'm thinking is, who has been shot? And the more I read, the more I start caring for some of the characters, and I start thinking that I really hope that it's not you that gets shot. And that gets more and more frustrating. And as the story progresses, the characters become more and more complex. And right from the start, I also wondered who is really the bad guy here, because none of them seem like the ordinary bad guy, because the bad guy, he's lucky, he has something going for him, but he's just an asshole, usually or often. But in this novel, our bad guy is a really miserable guy on the inside. And I do love that complexity in this situation. With Fredrik Backman's other novels, one of the things that I enjoy and find to be one of his greatest qualities is the character development. In the case of A Man Called Ove and Britt-Marie Was Here, you both have two very clear main characters that you don't really like that much when you start out, but then end up loving them. They tear your heart apart, piece by piece. But in this one, he doesn't really do that, so it's a bit different, because you have character development in many of them, but it's not as exaggerated as with other novels of his. But I guess the difference is that this one just has a bunch more characters, and he wouldn't maybe have the time to do it. And it could happen that the character development happens in the next 2 novels. What do I know? I will find out. I will read the 2 other ones as well. I do not know much about language, but I do know that the language in this one is easily read. As with all of his novels, it's not like you read a sentence and stop and think, what does he want us to imagine in our heads? It's pretty much straightforward, and I really enjoy that. And sometimes he takes it too far, because he likes to end his chapters with what I would like to call wisdom quotes. Things that are cliché, and to me doesn't add anything at all. I've written one of them down, and it's my own translation, but it's 1,000 ways to die in Beartown, especially on the inside. Well, come on. That is a bit, and when I say a bit, I mean very, very cheap. And I do not know why he does this, because it's not like I didn't end up crying while reading this novel, and it's really not because of the wisdom quotes. It's because the story is built in a special way, and I really started caring for the kids. There were a lot of kids I just wanted to hug and tell them that things were going to be okay. So couldn't he just stop with it? On the other hand, we have the exaggeration he has in the language when he describes Benji's sister and mother, which I am really fond of, when they talk about beating him up or his mother killing him. I find that mildly hilarious. At least he exaggerates in all directions, you might say. The reason why it's okay that this book is about hockey is because it's not. It's more about the community, and hockey is just the theme that ties it all together. All the stories about these kids growing up in this town is what makes this story great. Their struggles with school, their struggles with the hockey team, their struggles with being different and having fewer options than other people that grow up in bigger places. A great example of this is how the book talks about being gay. Because if you're a woman, you're gay if you like hockey, and you probably can't be gay if you're a man, because you just wouldn't fit in. I find the book to handle this brilliantly in just how all the jerks joking about being gay meet themselves at the door at some point. I really found that to add depth to this novel. And to me personally, I grew up in a small place, so I really felt like the way they described Beartown is pretty much how I would describe the place that I grew up. So to me it was universally fitting. I found that writing about rape in this novel was the perfect example of how terrible a local community could be in a situation like that. Everyone knew what was going on, everyone probably knew that this was something that could happen, and when it first happened, everyone was told via SMS. And everyone sort of made their own story about what was really the case in this incident. And all of this just made me so emotionally invested. Not including the rape scene, I think that to me, the worst moment in this book was when Amat was picked up by Kevin's father and Kevin's father tried to bribe him. It was just something in the way he spoke and how he delivered the message and how patronizing that foul man is that made me so angry. I don't think I've ever felt that kind of anger reading a fictionalized book ever, because I was almost shaking with rage when reading those lines. Yeah, this book just messed with my feelings. One of the happiest things about this book is Bobo's and Amat's relationship. When Bobo first decided to become Amat's friend, I was just so happy for them. It felt like a unlikely collaboration, which I enjoyed. I also enjoyed Bobo's character development. He went from being a bully to become a guy that sort of had insights into his own mind. What more can you ask for? I know that the books are made into a series by Netflix, but one of the things I started thinking about is how difficult it must be to make Kevin the asshole that he was. Reading about Kevin made me feel bad for him. He didn't have the greatest parents in the world, and he was home alone a lot. It took some time before he really showed who he was. And I'm thinking, how does the series actually cope with this? Do they make him look mean and aggressive and like a jerk from the start? I do not know, but I do not think I'm going to watch the series, because that will ruin a whole lot for me. It's kind of funny, but I think this book will end up being my favorite read of 2022. It had me engaged from the start until the end. It has so many lovable characters that you feel bad for. I was invested on so many levels. I wondered who was going to get shot. I was wondering who was going to end up as friends. Who is going to lose their jobs. So many questions and so much enjoyable reading time. I think I'll leave it at that. One of the most enjoyable reads I've had ever. And this is surely not going to stop me reading more of Fredrik Backman's books. So I hope you like this review. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!